It was just after 9:20 a.m. on a Thursday morning in Fort Worth, Texas. Traffic was steady on I-30, commuters heading to work, the hum of engines filling the cool morning air. Among them, a red Hyundai Veloster. Inside, a young woman, barely in her 20s, and her infant daughter. They were traveling westbound. No one knows exactly what happened in the next few seconds. But witnesses say the car began to swerve. Some say she tried to avoid debris. Others believe another driver cut her off. What's certain, the Hyundai lost control. It veered sharply, tires screeching, spinning off the highway into the grassy shoulder. In a violent roll, metal crunched, glass exploded, and the car flipped completely over, landing upside down. The noise echoed across the highway. Drivers slammed on brakes. Tires skidded. One by one, cars pulled to the shoulder. In seconds, chaos. The Hyundai lay crushed, roof caved in. Smoke drifted from beneath the hood. And somewhere nearby, cries, human, raw, and terrified. The mother had been thrown clear of the wreck. Disoriented, bleeding. Her clothes were torn. But her first thought wasn't herself. It was her baby. "Where's my baby?" she screamed, stumbling toward the overturned car. Witnesses said her voice broke through the morning air like glass shattering. Her baby had been ejected in the crash, thrown clear. But in the chaos, no one could see her. People ran from their cars. A man in a work vest. A woman still holding her phone from the 911 call. Another driver who had jumped the guardrail to help. They all began searching. Beneath the car. In the grass. In the ditch. Seconds ticked away. At 9:28 a.m., dispatch sent out a priority call. A serious rollover on I-30 near East Chase Parkway. Possible entrapment. Infant unaccounted for. Every second mattered. Because in scenes like this, time is the difference between a tragedy and a miracle. Just 3 minutes later, the sound of sirens grew closer. Fort Worth Police Sergeant R. Nichols and Officer E. Bounds were first on scene. Two veterans of the force, both known for calm under pressure. But nothing could have prepared them for what they were about to find. Their body cams were rolling as they pulled up to the shoulder. Traffic slowed around them. Smoke and dust hung heavy in the air. Nichols jumped out first, shouting to bystanders. "Where's the driver? Where's the baby?" Someone pointed toward the grass. "She's looking for her baby. She said the baby's under the car." Bounds moved fast, scanning the wreck. A crowd had gathered. Some on their knees, others crying, hands trembling. One man knelt low, peering under the car. His voice was shaking. "I think she's under there. I think the baby's under the windshield." Nichols dropped to his knees beside him. He leaned forward, squinting under the wreckage. And then, silence. He saw it. A tiny arm, barely visible beneath twisted metal and shattered glass. He froze for half a second, just enough to register what he was seeing. Then he shouted, "Hey, we need to move the car. The baby's under there." Every head turned. Every muscle tensed. No one waited for instructions. They just moved. Four men grabbed the side of the overturned car. Nichols braced near the rear wheel. Bounds joined him on the count. 1, 2, 3, lift. The car didn't budge. Again, lift. A deep, guttural strain filled the air. Shoes dug into the dirt. Grunts of exhaustion. The frame shifted, just an inch. But it was enough. Nichols dropped low, reaching beneath the shattered windshield. His gloved hands slid under broken glass until he felt soft fabric and tiny legs. He pulled. The baby came free, small, motionless. Her body was covered in dust and blood. No sound, no breath. Nichols laid her gently on the grass. Bounds was beside him instantly. The mother fell to her knees, sobbing, "Please, please, please save her." But the officers didn't hesitate. Nichols flipped the infant onto her back. Bounds checked her airway. No breath. No pulse. Nichols started CPR. Tiny compressions on a chest no bigger than his palm. 3 minutes had passed since they arrived. The difference between life and death was now in their hands. They worked in silence except for their voices, focused, urgent. Come on, baby. Keep working. There it is. Keep breathing. Seconds stretched into eternity. Then, a sound. Soft. Barely there. A weak, rattling gasp. Bounds leaned in closer. I've got a pulse, he said. Nichols kept compressing. Come on, baby, come on. And then, another sound. A cry. Faint at first. Then stronger. The baby's chest rose. Then fell. Then rose again. Her eyes fluttered open. For the first time since the crash, everyone exhaled. The crowd, silent just moments before, began to sob, shout, pray. A bystander dropped to his knees, hands clasped. The mother reached for her daughter, trembling, whispering her name over and over. Nichols lifted the baby slightly, cradling her head. Bounds stayed by her side, rubbing her back gently to keep her breathing. They kept her stable until medics arrived. Minutes later, the MedStar ambulance pulled up, lights flashing. Paramedics took over, lifting the baby onto a stretcher. One of them smiled at the officers. She's breathing. You did good. But the 2 men didn't move. They just stood there, hands shaking slightly, watching as the ambulance doors closed. By the time traffic began to move again, word had already started spreading. People were calling it a miracle. A baby who survived the unthinkable. A pair of officers who refused to give up. But for Sergeant Nichols and Officer Bounds, it wasn't about heroism. It was instinct, training, and something deeper, a belief that if there's a chance, no matter how small, you take it. Because every second counts. The Bodycam shakes as the officers run, grass crunching beneath their boots, breathing fast. Then, a voice, high-pitched, panicked. I can't find her. My baby. I can't find my baby. The words slice through the noise. Everyone stops. Everyone looks. And suddenly, there's no time left to think. Sergeant Nichols rushes to the overturned car. The windshield is shattered inward. The roof flattened against the ground. You can hear him shout, his voice sharp, commanding, focused. Check under there. She said the baby's under the car. Officer Bounds moves in beside him. They drop to their knees. Both officers start scanning the wreckage, hands brushing through glass, twisted metal, and oil-soaked grass. The bystanders are crying now, whispering prayers. Then Nichols' tone changes. It's low, tight, urgent. Hey, we need to move this car. I think the baby's under there. The crowd doesn't hesitate. One man shouts, let's go, lift. And in that instant, strangers become teammates. You can see 6 people grab whatever edge they can find, the wheel, the bumper, the door frame. They heave together. The car groans, metal straining against gravity. Tires shift. A hiss of air escapes from somewhere beneath. For 3 long seconds, the car rises. And Nichols moves. He slides an arm under the shattered glass. Reaches until his hand touches something soft. Fabric. Skin. Then, he pulls. The camera jolts as he drags the baby free. Tiny legs. Bare feet. A pink onesie streaked with mud and dust. He lays her on the grass. Bounds kneels instantly beside him. For a moment, there's silence. The baby isn't moving. Her chest, still. Her lips, pale. Then the mother's voice pierces the stillness again. Please, please help her. And that's when instinct takes over. Nichols doesn't pause. He turns the baby gently onto her back. Fingers trembling, but steady. Bounds leans in close, listening for breath. Nothing. Nichols begins compressions. Tiny, Careful presses. Over and over. Bounds checks the airway again. Nothing, he says softly. Nichols keeps going. Come on, baby, come on. The bystanders are crying now, hands over their mouths. One man mutters, "Please, God." 30 seconds pass. Then 40. Still nothing. But Nichols doesn't stop. The camera captures every breath, every tremor in his voice. "Keep moving," he says. "Keep moving." Bounds checks again. Still no pulse. The grass beneath them is slick with oil. The wrecked car looms just feet away, steam rising from the hood. You can see traffic slowing in the background, drivers hanging out of windows, trying to see what's happening. Then, suddenly, a sound. Soft. Faint. Almost like a sigh. Bounds freezes. His hand on the baby's chest. "Wait," he says. "Hold up, I've got something. I think I've got a pulse." Nichols stops, leaning in. The baby's chest twitches. Bounds looks again. Then nods. "I've got a pulse." For a moment, time stops. Then, the faintest noise. A soft whimper. Nichols looks down, eyes wide. "Come on, baby," he says. "Come on." And then, the baby's body jerks. Her chest rises. A sputter of air escapes her lips. Another sound follows, sharper this time. A cry. It's weak. Raspy. But it's real. Bounds exhales hard, relief flooding his face. Nichols smiles for the first time since the crash began. "She's breathing," he says. "She's breathing." What happens next feels like a wave breaking. The baby begins crying louder, fragile at first, then stronger. Nichols keeps one hand under her neck, gently patting her back. Bounds wipes her face, clearing dirt and glass fragments from her skin. The mother crawls closer, her voice trembling. "Is she okay? Oh God, is she okay?" Nichols nods quickly, keeping his focus. "She's okay. She's breathing. Stay with me." But even as relief sets in, they know they can't stop. The baby needs oxygen. Medical attention. Nichols calls for EMS again, voice firm. "Dispatch, we need MedStar ASAP. Infant extracted, pulse regained, responsive but weak." The next few minutes are a blur of coordination. Bounds keeps his hand near the baby's chest, feeling the rhythm of her breathing. Nichols checks her limbs for fractures. Nothing looks broken, just bruises, scratches, and shock. Her breathing evens out. Her small hands twitch. Her eyes blink open, unfocused. Bounds lean close. "There it is," he whispers. "There it is, little one. You're doing so good." The camera catches the moment perfectly. A grown man, uniform streaked with mud, eyes wet, whispering to a crying baby in the middle of a highway. And somehow, amid the chaos, it feels peaceful. Moments later, the first ambulance arrives. Paramedics jump out, rushing toward the scene with equipment in hand. Nichols lifts the baby gently, handing her off. The medic nods. "She's breathing. You got her back," he says, his voice calm but impressed. Nichols and Bounds step back, letting the professionals take over. The mother follows close, still crying, still thanking them through sobs. The paramedics place the baby in a small blanket, secure her in their arms, and move her to the ambulance. Bounds watches silently as the doors close. And for the first time in 10 minutes, it's quiet. The Bodycam lingers on in the aftermath. The wreckage still lies on its roof. Glass glitters in the sunlight. Bystanders stand in clusters, some crying, others on the phone. Nichols turns away from the ambulance, finally allowing himself to exhale. His voice was low. "Damn. That was close." Bounds nods, still staring. He doesn't say a word. The two men walk back to their patrol car slowly. Their breathing is steady now, their adrenaline fading. The camera shakes slightly as Nichols places a hand on the car door. And for a long moment, he doesn't move. Later, back at the station, the footage would be reviewed. Frame by frame. Supervisors would call it extraordinary. Training manuals would highlight it as textbook precision. But for Nichols and Bounds, it wasn't a lesson. It was life. They'd tell colleagues that they didn't think, they just acted. That the people who stopped to help, the strangers who lifted that car, were just as much heroes. Because in those 3 minutes, it wasn't about badges or uniforms. It was about humanity. People seeing a child in danger and moving without hesitation. When the footage was finally released to the public the next day, it spread fast. Across Texas, across the country, across the world. The video hit over 100,000 views in under 24 hours. Then 1 million. Then more. Every comment said the same thing. This broke me. I couldn't breathe until she cried. Sometimes, miracles wear a badge. Fort Worth police released a statement the next morning. We are beyond proud of the life-saving actions performed by Sergeant Nichols and Officer Bounds for their bravery and quick response to this terrible scene. They added, we are also grateful to the Fort Worth citizens who saw someone in danger and, without hesitation, assisted our officers. The post ended with a warning and a truth. Although this video may be extremely difficult to watch, it is an important example of the kinds of situations that our police officers may come across while performing their duties. And for anyone who had watched the footage, those words hit home. Because they'd seen what it looked like when duty met desperation. And how, sometimes, courage is quiet. Just hands lifting metal. And a voice whispering, come on baby, breathe. By Friday morning, the video had spread everywhere. From Fort Worth to Houston. From Dallas to New York. From small-town Facebook groups to major national news outlets. Everyone was talking about the baby under the car. The officers who refused to stop. And the moment that cry broke the silence. The Fort Worth Police Department confirmed what everyone had been praying for. Against all odds, the baby girl was alive, stable, breathing on her own, expected to make a full recovery. Her mother, recovering too, broken ribs, cuts, bruises, but alive. When doctors told her that her baby had survived, witnesses say she fell silent. Then she whispered one word. Miracle. That night, Sergeant R. Nichols went home late. He sat in his kitchen, still in uniform. The Bodycam footage was replaying in his mind. Not the chaos, not the adrenaline, but the sound. That tiny cry. He later said, I didn't even realize I was holding my breath until I heard her. Across town, Officer E. Bounds did the same. He told his wife he couldn't sleep, not because of what he saw, but because of what could have happened if they'd arrived 30 seconds later. You don't think in those moments, he said. You just move. You pray your hands know what to do. The next morning, Fort Worth Police Chief Eddie Garcia posted his own message. Our prayers are with this little angel as a full recovery is expected. But unbelievable heroism shown by these officers. They made Fort Worth PD and the city of Fort Worth proud. He ended it with one line that would later go viral. Not quite sure a better example of protect and serve exists. In the days that followed, the crash site became a symbol. Drivers slowed as they passed the grassy shoulder. Some left flowers. Others left small stuffed animals, a pink elephant, a teddy bear with a heart stitched on its chest. For a week, people stopped there. Not to take pictures, but to stand in silence. A quiet thank you to two men who showed what courage looks like when there's no time to think. News outlets began requesting interviews. The department declined. They said the footage spoke for itself. And it did. Because when people watched it, they didn't just see police officers. They saw humanity. Bystanders dropping everything to help. Officers risking their own safety under a smoking, unstable car. Strangers moving in perfect, unspoken rhythm. It was the kind of unity that rarely makes headlines. But this time, it did. Across social media, the comments poured in. Sometimes miracles wear a badge. I could feel every emotion in their voices, the fear, the powerlessness, the relief. There are angels among us. And then, one that stood out from all the rest. A mother from another state wrote, "I lost my baby in a car crash 2 years ago. Watching this broke me, but it also healed something in me. Those officers didn't just save a child, they saved a piece of hope." Weeks later, the baby's name was released. Ava. Tiny. Strong. Smiling again. When she left the hospital, nurses lined the hallways to clap. Her mother held her tight, tears streaming down her face. They didn't speak to reporters. They didn't need to, because the story had already said everything. Months later, Sergeant Nichols and Officer Bounds were recognized at a city ceremony. They stood on stage, nervous, humble. Applause thundered through the room. But both men looked uncomfortable, because they never saw themselves as heroes. Nichols said softly into the microphone, "We did what anyone would have done. We just got there first." Bounds added, "If you've ever been in a moment like that, you know, you don't think about cameras or credit. You just see someone who needs help." The audience rose to their feet. The standing ovation lasted nearly a full minute. Behind the scenes, the department quietly reviewed the case. Investigators confirmed that the child had not been secured in a car seat at the time of the crash, a violation of Texas safety law for children under 8. But in the wake of the miracle, no one spoke of punishment. Only for lessons. Chief Garcia used the story to remind parents and guardians. Car seats save lives. This baby was lucky, beyond lucky. We don't want luck to be the reason a child survives. The department launched a safety campaign shortly after. They named it Project Ava. Free car seats were distributed across Fort Worth. And at every event, officers told her story. Not to relive the horror, but to remind people how fragile those seconds can be. For the public, the story became more than just a headline. It became a symbol of unity, of compassion, of the kind of courage that doesn't ask who you are, where you're from, or what badge you wear. Because when a baby is trapped under a car, none of that matters. What matters is who runs toward the wreck instead of away from it. Months later, the Bodycam footage was used in police training academies across Texas. Cadets watched the video in silence. They studied the timing, the communication, the restraint and urgency combined. When the clip ended, and the baby's cry echoed through the speakers, no one spoke. They didn't have to. Every cadet in the room understood what it meant. The difference between hesitation and action, between a tragedy and a miracle. In interviews months later, Sergeant Nichols reflected on the moment. He said he hadn't watched the video since. "Once was enough," he said. "I still hear that cry sometimes. But it's not haunting, it's hope." Officer Bounds agreed. He said he carried a small reminder with him now, a pink ribbon, tucked inside his patrol car's sun visor. "Every time I look at it, I remember why we do this job," he said. "It's not about arrests or tickets. It's about life. Protecting it, at any cost." The story of the Fort Worth rescue didn't end on the highway that day. It continued in quiet ways. In hospital rooms, in classrooms, in police academies and safety campaigns, and in the lives of those who were there, the mother, the bystanders, the medics, the officers, forever changed by a moment that lasted barely 3 minutes, but meant everything. Today, if you drive along that stretch of Interstate 30, there's nothing to suggest what happened. No scar in the grass. No memorial. Just the sound of cars passing, and the quiet hum of life moving on. But for those who know the story, that place will never be ordinary again. Because on that morning, something extraordinary happened there. A car flipped. A baby stopped breathing. And 2 men refused to let her story end there. Fort Worth Police Department closed their statement with these words. Although this video may be extremely difficult to watch, it's an important example of the kinds of situations that our police officers may come across while performing their duties. But for everyone who watched it, it was more than that. It was a reminder that in the worst moments of chaos, sometimes, the best of humanity shines through. Sergeant Nichols crouched beside the baby, his hands trembling, whispering softly, "Come on, baby. You're okay now." Her cry fills the frame. High, sharp, alive. And that's when you realize, you've just witnessed a miracle. A moment of courage that defied every rule of chance and timing. And a truth that will never fade. Sometimes, heroes don't wear capes. They wear badges. And they run toward the wreck.